share my screen as well. Let me know if you guys can see.
We can see it.
Perfect. All right, I'll just go ahead and start now. So for today's session, we'll be going over the cadet maternity registration design. And we have myself, Chelsea, and then Daniel from the RSDQ team. Oh, sorry, there you go. So I'll start with the land acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and treaty territory of the Tla'amin Nation. I myself is residing in Surrey, so I'm situated on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, including the Katsi, Kwantlen, and Semiahmoo First Nations. Just for housekeeping items, please mute yourself when not speaking. Please do not put the call on hold, and please state your name when speaking to support any proper meeting notes and follow-up items. Add any non-urgent questions to the chat. And then for introductions, we have this subject matters experts, the SMEs. I won't be going over every name just to save some time. But if you are missing from the list, please let me know and add it on the chat. And then we also have RDS and RSDQ members. Again, from RSDQ is myself and then Daniel, who will be doing the demos later on. Agenda items will go over any CST Cerner and EPI overview, maternity registration definitions and documents, obstetrics registrations and a demo. We'll do a 5-minute break in between, and then we'll go over newborn registrations, the work list for maternity, newborn, and stillborn, adoptions and surrogacy, and then at the end we'll have some questions. So CST Cerner and EMPI overview. Access to registration functions. So Cerner is a collection of several different applications and modules. Our overall approach, we want to provide users access to all the registration functions within the Cerner modules that we commonly use. First we have is the PM Office, which registration users will perform most of the registration related functions. And then we have scheduling appointment book, also known as chat book, which the scheduling clerks will perform most of the scheduling related functions. Lastly is the power chart, which clinical and power chart users like nurses or providers will use with registration related functions, orders, and power plans. So CST Cerner applications, Cerner is actively integrated with the provincial EMPI. So again, Enterprise Master Patient Index, and this system is managed by the Ministry of Health and maintains a set of patient information used to uniquely identify patients. So every patient, if BC resident or visitor is utilizing a healthcare system in BC, will be assigned a BC PHN and can be found in the EMPI. And every registration put in Cerner will use the EMPI to retrieve or verify patient demographics. So EMPI, I know you guys are already familiar with it through Meditech, so I won't go over the definitions. However, I will point out that Cerner does have an active integration with EMPI, so that just means it allows patient demographic information to be updated back and forth in real time between healthcare providers and the EMPI. So you'll be able to search directly with the EMPI records in the same Cerner search windows and can compare patient demographics with Cerner and EMPI and request PHN in Cerner. CST Cerner search criteria and EMPI search criteria. So you'd start off with the BCPHN, and then if you don't find the patient, you do a full last name and first name. And again, if you don't find the patient, we'll do a date of birth and gender search. And if that doesn't, if still not able to find patient, that's when you would do a search by EMPI, which would have the similar criteria again with the first full and last name and first name. And then again, secondary criteria is birthday, postal code, or phone number. Next, we'll go over the maternity registration definitions. So encounter types. So since Cerner is encounter-based, an encounter is very similar to a visit or an account, and it's very important for the clerks to know which encounter to select per visit. So I'll go over the different encounter types for maternity. We have inpatient, which by definition, we have an individual who receives services from a hospital for medically necessary diagnosis and or treatment and would meet the following criteria, which an attending physician or midwife has made in order to admit the person as an inpatient and is currently occupying an inpatient bed. Then we have the alternative level of care. This encounter type is assigned to a patient occupying an inpatient bed, but not requiring any acute care resources or services. The patient must be designated at ALC at the time by the most appropriate care team members. So it could be a physician, long-term care assessor, patient care manager, etc. And this can include already admitted inpatients that transitioned into ALC or clients who were admitted directly to ALC. So example is a companion. For newborn, the newborn encounter type is applicable to live births born in hospital or to live births born out of hospital within the first 24 hours of life. And this is their first admission to a hospital. Births that do not meet the criteria of the newborn encounter would be registered as an inpatient encounter type. An ALC encounter type is also used to register a companion well baby who are assigned a bed, but again, do not require acute care services. And then for stillborn, we have a stillborn encounter, and that's just the location of the stillborn would be recorded if the stillborn is transferred. So all activity like autopsy, MI, or labs is recorded on the stillborn encounter. Stillborn encounters are not auto-discharged, so it will be manual discharge when the stillborn leaves the facility. And then we have other definitions, outpatient OB. So this encounter is used to register patients who are assigned a bed but do not require any acute care services. So we have examples for maternity and ambulatory clinic visits, NST, ECV, iron sucrose infusion, betamethasone injection. And then lastly, the other encounter would be last encounter is outpatient and a bed. And this is used to register patients who are assigned a bed. And this is just assigned a bed but do not require acute care services. So you would do labor and assessment and outpatient induction. I think I got my definitions. Same here. So next we have the maternity registration documents that I'll go over. So we have the patient armband, and a patient armband will print at the point of registration and are to be attached to the patient and is used for any patient identification purposes. So we have the patient demographic informations and a barcode on the label available for any barcode scanning. And this is just an example of what the armband would look like. We have the patient face sheet, which will print at point again of registration and will be placed in the chartlet. Newborn documents, we have the newborn PHN letter and a newborn armband. Any questions so far before I move on to the next? All right, I'll just move on then. Perfect. Obstetrics registrations. So this is just a high-level workflow of the obstetrics registration. So we have the mother coming in, and there is two registrations that the mother can do, the clerk would use. First would be a pre-register for planned deliveries or C-sections and clinic visits. And then next they would arrive, which would be the full registration. Or they would use a quick reg for any unplanned labor and assessment visits, and then it would be arrival for full registration. For the newborn, it would be a quick reg, but to note for quick reg, the mother is required to be admitted as an inpatient to register newborn, and then it will be a full registration. So for the obstetrics registrations, we have pre-registrations of obstetric patients is done through the creation of a pre-registered encounter prior to the patient presenting to a facility. So the pre-register outpatient and the pre-register patient to a bed conversation provides the ability to create or update any pre-registrations. This also allows for any order entry and documentation before the time of admission and expedites the registration process. Upon patient's arrival, the pre-registered encounter will be used to fully register patients and update any demographic info using one of the following three conversations. So we have quick reg, register outpatient, or register patient to a bed. So for quick reg, when a patient in labor presents for assessment and delivery, she may be quickly registered using the quick reg conversation. However, a full registration will need to be completed prior to the patient's discharge. And the quick reg has a minimal set of required fields that's highlighted down here in yellow, which is used to quickly register a patient in labor and can be triaged and orders can get started right away. So this is the screenshot of that conversation, and then the mandatory fields that's just required to create that quick reg. Next conversation is the register patient to a bed. This conversation is used to perform full registrations and any modifications of a full reg for the following active encounter type. So for any inpatients, alternate level of care, outpatient to a bed, or newborn, this would be the window for the encounter that you would need to require for the creation of the for the full registration. And then there's register outpatient conversation. So the use of the register outpatient conversation is to create a outpatient OB encounter, which include but are not limited to labor triage, an assessment, outpatient induction, undelivered or betamethasone injection. And this is just a summary of all the obstetrics conversations and the encounter types that we've just gone over. Just a little bit more. And now I'll just pass on to Daniel, who will do the demo for the pre-reg, patient to a bed, and then full register, patient to a bed, as well as a quick reg.
Thank you, Chelsea. Just let me share my screen. Oh. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for this demo, we will use PN Office application. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see the main menu. The most frequently used functionalities are conversation, bed boards, and the word list. So during this demo, we'll explore how to use different conversation, visualize information in a bed board. So now, for this demo, I will be using a Richmond Hospital facility. I will select one of the units that are maternity units. So when I open the bed board, we can see different bed details, demographic information, and visit related information. So how you can see here, we have the name of the patient, the encounter type, and also if this patient is PIP, visit and the visitor status. So in the structure of the beds, you can see that some of the rooms has an M that this bed is assigned for the mother, and A, B, and C is assigned for the different babies. So now, in our first scenario, we will pre-register a patient for a planned delivery. So for that purpose, we will use pre-register of patient conversation. So so the first screen that is displayed is the patient search screen. It includes multiple fields insurance accuracy patient information. But normally we perform this search by PHN, but in case that the PHN is unable, you can search using other criteria such as last name, first name, date of birth, postal code. So for the purpose of this demo, I will use last name and the first name. So right here, we have all of the patients that match with the criteria. In this case, is just one. And also in case that we have an encounter, we will see the information here in the bottom. So I would add an encounter now. So I would choose the same facility where I am working now. Okay. So at the top of the screen, you could see a list of patients. Oh, sorry. Uh, you see the different information of the patient. So here is always good to be sure that you are working in the correct patient. So also here you have a different type of information. Uh, in this pre-register, uh, and in this pre-registration, just a few fields are mandatory. So here, I will concentrate just in that mandatory fields, and I will explain a little more of each of the tabs in the full registration. So here, I will just go to encounter information. I will select the encounter type. In this case, it will be approved patient in a bed. The medical service will be obstetrics, and the reason for the visit will be planned delivery. So here also I would select the unit that we are working. So I look for the unit. Give me a second, it's right here. And also it's asking me for the estimate date and time. So normally this is the due date, but because we are doing this example, we will say that is today, just a few minutes from now. So now I will complete this transaction. I have here the document selection. So in case that I want to print some documents, in this case, I just check the box in the bottom that I don't want to print any document and select OK. Now I have the confirmation display that mentioned that this patient has already have an encounter, that this is the encounter number. Okay. So now let's assume that the patient has arrived for the planned delivery. In this case, we will proceed with the registering the patient by selecting a register of patient conversation. So I look again for my patient. Here we have the encounter that we just created a few minutes ago. I will work with that one. So here, um, the first mandatory field that we are missing is the indigenous identity. So when I select the field, we can see the different answer that the client can give us. So in this example, I will select that is indigenous, and I will see that two additional fields are displayed. The first one is to identify the group. I would say in this case that is a First Nation, and also if they're would use the indigenous service. Also, in this case, I will select maybe. In the encounter information tab, we have uh, all the fields that we uh, complete before. So I will select in this case occupation in a bed and the software of ID. So the different identification that the patient can give me, I is displayed. So in this case, I will select PC service card with photo. Now I will select the bed. So we are in this unit. I can click uh, this button that show me the bed ability, and I will select one of the mother beds. So I will put this patient in this room 5 in the bed 1 for the mother, and also is asking me for the accommodation reason. So there is a few options here, but for this example, I select a patient request. Now, the information of the providers. So normally here we have the primary care provider populate, and in all of the encounter type is asking me to verify that information if this is the correct primary care provider. So we say that we verify. Also, for this type of encounter, probably you already know the maternity provider and you can enter. In this case, no mandatory, but you probably already know the name. So I will just select one of our test physician. Okay. So now in the insurance tab, in the, you can see the MSP eligibility. Uh, Normally you receive the answer as a yes, but because we are in a test environment, we have an answer as a no. So that is the reason that is asking me for more information. So here is asking me for the status in Canada. I will say that this is an insurance resident. For the type of encounter that we are working, this is no normally is not an accident related or work related injury. Also, I need to search for the health plan. Uh, I can search by the name. So in this case, I can just tap MSP and it will retrieve the different options that have MSP on it. So in this case, I will select BC resident MSP PHN. Okay, so now I will check the other tabs. In this case, additional contacts. Normally, uh, you can register here. It's not mandatory in this moment, but you can register the spouse of the patient. So I will register in this case just for the example. Here is just mandatory the phone number.
Also, just to add that contacts in Cerner are saved at the patient level. So if a contact's been added to a patient record at any point in the past, it will show up here. It does not need to be added every single time for every registration. It just needs to be verified that it's still correct and still up to date.
Thank you, Abe. So I will complete this transaction now. It's asking me again if I want to print any of the documents. I will select that I don't want to print any document right now. And if I update our pet bar, we can see here the patient that we just registered. So now let's assume that there is a patient that just arrived uh, for emergency section. So wasn't a planned delivery. So we can use WH with registration. This conversation is designed to quickly add the mother record to the maternity tracking board with the minimal information on every initiation of organ tests and procedures. So I will open this conversation. Again, we have the search of the person search. So I will look for another patient. So how you can see here, this patient doesn't have an encounter that I can use, so I will use a new one. So select the same facility where I am working. Now, how you see here is just a minimum of mandatory fields. I will select the bed ability. So I will put it next to the other one that we are working, but in the mother bed. Also, in this case, also, I can change to a inpatient encounter type. It will ask me for an admitting provider. This sometimes could be the same, the admitting and the attending provider. And also it's asking me for the maternity provider. I will select a different one. This field. So when I complete this transaction, it's asking me again for the document. I will select that I don't want to print anything. Is show me that we already have an encounter for this patient. I select OK. And when I refresh the bed bar, now we will see the patient here. So hope you see was just a few fields to uh, quick register this patient. From here, uh, you can open, you can right click and open the conversation uh, to register the patient. Do you have any question? Okay, I think I return to Chelsea. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. I'll just see. Okay, can everyone see my screen again?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm just going to go back to this slide, which I had the wrong definition. So I just want to go over the outpatient OB. So this one is actually patients receiving medical procedures or tests that can be done in the facility without an overnight stay. So I just want to clarify that the definition for this one. And then I forgot to also mention, I had some questions for Meditech. Do you guys use encounters at all? Or any types of like encounters or accounts that Maternity uses?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't know if that's a question for Christy or not.
Like, do you have similar to Cerner, we have the inpatient or an outpatient or newborn for encounters? Let's do something similar to that in Meditech.
Yeah, we have a perinatal visit and an NST visit.
Okay, perfect. Just gonna go back to where we ended off. Oh yeah, okay. And now we have a break. I just want to ask everyone if we want to do like a 5-minute break, just to kind of just settle, and then we can come back in, let's say, 10:10, just to make it even perfect. All right, I'll see you guys back in 10:10 then. Okay, I'm back. I just want to check in on everyone to see if they're coming back now. Perfect. Right, since I think everyone is back, we're just gonna go ahead and start again. Right, so I'll be talking about the newborn registrations now. So for registered newborn, a newborn registration is completed in the following conversations based on the newborn and mother status. So we have the newborn quick reg and newborn modify, where mother is admitted to the same hospital and the baby meets the newborn encounter type criteria. For the newborn pre-reg and newborn convert, this is optional, where the mother is admitted to the same hospital and the baby meets the pre-register a newborn requirement. We also have register patient to a bed, which is the inpatient or ALC. Mother is not admitted to the same hospital, but baby meets the newborn encounter type criteria. The baby does not meet the newborn encounter type criteria and is registered as inpatient or ALC encounter type. This is just a screenshot of what the newborn quick reg will look like, and then the yellow is where the mandatory fields that need to be filled out before doing that quick reg. And then the newborn modify, just if you need to update any information on the newborn, like any admitting providers or PCP, this is where you do it. And then for the newborn insurance, so in the insurance tab, the mother's information will be defaulted as the newborn's guarantor. However, if the mother is the guarantor, the newborn's primary, secondary, and the extended insurance, if it's applicable, must be the same as the mother's insurance plan. So the clerk must open the mother's active maternity encounter and then view the mother's primary or secondary insurance, and then just ensure that the correct insurance is selected for the newborn. Stillborn registration. So the following conversations are used for stillborn registration based on these scenarios. So we have stillborn, which is stillborn delivered at the facility where mother is registered, or you do a quick reg for a stillborn delivered outside of the facility. Stillborns are not assigned a PHN, but will have a MRN to track in the system. All right, next, Daniel will provide a demo for the quick reg newborn, newborn modify, and a stillborn registration.
Thank you, Chelsea. Just sharing my screen. Okay. So we have here the two motors that we already get registered. So the first scenario that I will demo is will register a multiple pair. So in this case, from the mother, you can just right click conversations, and I will select newborn quick registration. Okay, so the first window that pop up is the newborn request PHN. So here will we request a new PHN for the baby. So here it asks me for the sex. So I will select that this one is a female. Here as a default, it is selected the last name of the mother, but if I want, I can check, just to uncheck this box. I will keep it the last name of the mother. And also here is asking me it's a multiple verb. So in this case, I will say that yes, this is a multiple verb, and this is gonna be the baby A. Also, the date of the bear. So I will select that it was today and just few minutes ago. Now I'm going to the next baby. I will select that it was a male, and as a default, I select the letter B. I will go with that also the verb was today, but just uh, some minutes of different. Okay, so now I will submit the request for this baby. So now the form display, but in the top of the screen, you can see that the PHN it is in progress, and now we have a successful PHN. So here, this is just a few mandatory fields. I this is part of a multiple verb. So for this example, we'll say that is yes. We will select the same unit and a bed next to the mother. So I will look for the bed ability, and in this case, I can select this bed that is just next to the mother. So I select that bed, and also it's asking me for the admitting and the attending provider. So I will just select one of our test physician as a admitting and attending provider. So I complete this transaction. It asks me if I want to print any document. I don't want to print any document. It shows me that now we complete the encounter creation for this baby girl A. So I will now select OK, and it will display the second screen for the second baby. So in this case, we already have also a PHN. So this is part of a multiple verb. We select yes, and I will select a bed next to the mother and the other baby. So this case, it will be this bed, and the meeting provider, it will be the same one. Okay. So I don't want to print any document. And now we register the newborn 2 of 2. So I select complete, and now we can see both of the babies here. So now I will complete the full registration of one of them. So for that purpose, I select the baby and right click, and I go to newborn modify. So here it will ask me for another mandatory fields just to complete the information. So in this case, because we relate uh, this newborn with the mother, it will prop up some of the information directly from the mother. So you can see here, this is the primary care that we have with previously with the mom. So it's asking me is gonna be the same primary care provider, I will say that yes. In the insurance information, you can see that as a default, the mother is gonna be the warrantor, but here I need to enter the search for the health plan. So I will search for the plan and I will select INSP as a plan. Okay, so now uh, also I will go to additional contacts. So hope you can see here also the emergency contact is the mother and also the next of kin. So here is asking me for the phone to verify the phone. I will say that it will be the same mobile phone of the mother that we already had for a previous uh, registration, and I will complete this transaction. So it's asking me if I want to print any document. I don't want to print any document, and now this patient is full registered. So uh, now, just for the purpose of the demo, I will and save some time. I would don't repeat the same process with the baby B. I would just go now to register an stillborn for this second month. So uh, I select that second month. I go to conversations and stillborn. The first thing that is asking me is how many newborns I want to register for this month. I will say that it's just gonna be one. I select OK. We have a couple of mandatory fields. So the gender. So it's also full up like general name because related with the gender. So the date of birth, when was the birth that is still warm. So they say that was today and just a couple of minutes ago. It is part of a multiple birth, so we will select no, and the encounter type will be stillborn. We need to select a bed, so we will select a bed next to the mother. And also it's asking me for the primary care provider and the intended provider. So I will enter two different physicians here. And I just complete this transaction. Okay, so now we have an encounter for this stillborn. And from here, also, I will do a quick registration. So here is really important to remember to click in the button cancel because we don't request any PHN for a stillborn. So I would select cancel here. The system will be asking me if I want to keep going without PHN. I will select yes. So in this quick registration, I would select an encounter type as a disease. It provides the medical service as a disease by default, and it's also asking me for the insurance. So I need to search in this case for an insurance resident of service. So this is the health plan that I need to select for the stillborn. Also, it's asking me for maintain status, so I will say that is not provided. So I complete now, and it's asking me if I want to print any document. I don't want to print any document. From this encounter, we can move this baby born to the morgue, and from there they will discharge that encounter when they uh, send the body to the funeral home. Do you have any question? Okay, so I will return to Chelsea. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel. All right, can you see my screen again?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so since Daniel showed the demo for how to do quick reg in stillborn, now there's also the option of doing a pre-register, register newborn. So when a newborn is about to be born in hospital, you can create a pre-inpatient encounter and request a BCPHN for newborn. That way, for this, orders and power plants can be placed beforehand. And then when baby is born, you would just convert the pre-inpatient encounter to a newborn encounter. The only, there is a strict criteria for a newborn pre-reg, which is that it has to be a live vaginal birth for a mother at 6 centimeters or more cervical dilation, and it has to be planned C-section when mother is being transferred to the OR. The standard quick reg is usually the standard use for registering a newborn. Does that see any use in using a pre-register for newborn?
And just
I mean,
to
you could,
emphasize that normally when you do newborn quick reg, the mother needs to be there. It's only done after the baby is born. Pre-reg lets you get a newborn encounter into the system in advance before their birth, but the criteria is very strict. You should only be doing it when the mom is at least 6 centimeters dilated. And it's really necessary if there's a need to put orders or power plans or prepare for what's usually intensive care baby.
I mean, it would be something that would be helpful, especially if we're delivering on nights and we have no unit clerks anywhere to help us input anything.
All right, thank you. All right, next I'll talk about the work list for maternity, newborn, and stillborn. So we have the incomplete maternity registration work list. To track these patients, which patients require full registration, you would just use a incomplete maternity registration work list, which is found in PM office. And this would display all the newborn, outpatient in a bed, inpatient encounters that are active and haven't been discharged within the last 30 days or haven't been fully registered. And then the next work list is today's expected arrivals. This generates a list of any pre-registered encounters for a specific unit with today's date as the estimated arrival date. This work list generated daily by each clinic to ensure all pre-registered encounters are admitted, discharged, or canceled as per proper procedure. So the estimated arrival date is the same as the delivery date, so it's useful for ORA booking to view any list of C-sections for the day. And then we have the stillborn list, which is generated to view a list of born encounters for a specified facility, which will require any discharge. So the stillborn births are registered and transferred to the morgue. And once these encounters are transferred to the morgue, they are not auto discharged, so they do require manual discharge by registration, patient placement, or morgue staff. We have in-house patient death. So when a patient passes away after live birth or a mother passes away while admitted, you would follow the standard procedure for inpatient death, which is requiring a discharge of the current encounter using the discharge encounter conversation, and then the creation of a deceased encounter using the quick reg conversation. So when a patient is moved to the morgue, they would use a bed transfer conversation to transfer a patient to correct locations. And the patient will remain in the morgue until it's ready to be discharged to a funeral home. And this is just a screenshot of what the morgue work list would look like. Next is the adoptions and surrogacy. So adoptions and surrogacies are first registered under the birth mother. It will be flagged during the first initial newborn quick reg, and I've highlighted here in this screenshot. This is the flag that you would need to select. The first encounter is immediately discharged, and the baby is then registered under a second MRN or PHN using the adoptive or intended parent's last name. The BC Ministry of Health assigns a second post-adoptive PHN to all babies, so this workflow is used for both closed and open adoptions. And for the adoption surrogacy field, there would be a pop-up reminder when completing the newborn quick reg to discharge the current encounter and create a new one. Selecting a value for the adoption surrogacy field will auto-populate the visitor status to no visitors for the current encounter. So just right over here. And now it's questions. But before that, before these questions, was there any questions of what I've just gone over with the work list or the adoptions? All right. So I'll just go ahead with these questions I have for Cadet. So who does the pre-registrations for planned vaginal births or C-sections?
We don't do any of them up here, so it'd be Christy, or I'm not sure if for the C-sections, if it is the OR booking clerk. And Christy might know, I'm not sure which one does it for down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I could follow up on that one for the pre-registrations.
Perfect. Thank you, Christy. I'll just move on to the next question there. For registering patients when they arrive, where do the patients arrive, ED or at the maternity unit?
Both.
Both, okay. I assume for the planned ones, they would be at the maternity unit, and then for EDs, like the unplanned?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So both.
Just to confirm, Emma, is it depend on time of day, or do patients just arrive in both places?
Some people just show up. Some people go to ED and then get sent upstairs. Some people just check in at the front desk and they send them upstairs.
Okay.
We'll get like a last minute phone call and we just tell the people to come straight upstairs.
Okay, thank you. And then who does registration for newborns and stillborns?
Both, depending on the time of day.
Would it be like clerks or nurses?
Yeah.
Are there any
earlier you mentioned about pre-registrations that there might be to do it if there was no clerical coverage during the night. Are there any gaps or after hours workflows related to newborn and stillborn that get that right now that we'd have to account for?
Nothing official. The nursing covers everything registration wise after the clerks go home from the front desk.
Thank you.
All right. And then are there any high-risk babies that you want to do pre-registration or plan to adopt? So we already spoke about that. And you said, yes, there's a possibility. Oh, go back to that. And then any unique workflows. So you said, again, or the answer to that, where after clerks are gone home, the nurses would take the registration, take over for registration. And then any special report requirements?
Give an example of what that might be.
Ibrahim, do you
I
have
can
any?
speak to that one. So Cerner has a lot of standard reports built into it. Things like a list of all newborn admissions, all discharge, all inpatient and newborn admits into your unit on a given day. But are there any specific reports that your unit currently relies on as part of their SOP, or that we can ensure that is covered by the existing Cerner reports?
Not for the nursing unit. I'm not sure. Christy, do you guys?
Sorry, I missed the question. There was a bit of noise in my background here.
Are there any unique reports that currently relies on for maternity workflows? Anything outside the standard admit list, discharge list, unit census? In chat, Ashley also noted that there is a newborn birthday tracking report, expected deliveries by location, and a schedule detail report for the maternity unit. Is there anything else that maternity currently relies on that we have to ensure is covered?
No, I think those would be covered for on the record side.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, I have a question, Abraham. Like, I'm just thinking when they register stillborns, those will be captured on the morgue report, right? Like, say, I don't know if on maternity, if they store them up on the maternity unit in a fridge, or if they get sent down to pathology. We'd want to keep track of those too, right? To make sure that it get discharged.
Yeah, there is, I believe it's either a work list or a report for stillborns built into Cerner. It's one of the standard ones. The exact name is escapes me at the moment, but it is there.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's the end of the questions. If there are questions for myself at all after, I think that would be the end. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I guess I'll reach out to Christy about that first question. Perfect. But yeah, thank you. And we have lots of spare time after now. So, all right, you guys enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.